Hello, welcome to Three Geeks Reviewing of Heroes continues. And I still think the show is getting gradually better. Trying to think. So the plot just continues with Noah Bennett looking for Molly. He finds her. Some stuff happens. We won't get into that quite yet, but this will be a spoiler-heavy review. Rin and Miko are on their way to America. They get there pretty quickly. The continued storyline is progressing with Levi's character, which again the name eludes me. There's kind of a fork in the road. His wife finds out that he's gradually getting powers. She leaves him with, at least she left him with the car, stranded on the side of the road, or she's more stranded than he is, but whatever. So let's just get into it. We have all three of us today, me, Philip, and Mike. So let's start with you, Mike. What did you think of the episode?
I'm trying to remember stuff from it because I was honestly half paying attention, and that's sad because that was the only thing that was going on. So I should have been paying full attention. Again, I hate to sound like the negative Nelly on this whole thing. It's probably gonna be a consistent thing with me. I just can't muster up enough investment in what's going on. There was a little bit that did go on towards the end of the episode that I was invested in, but again, it ties in wholly to the fact that I know the history of certain characters before the show. So, for again, anyone who's just coming into this miniseries fresh probably wouldn't get some emotional connections between characters as much as I picked up on. And I guess, can we talk about kind of the ending of it a
Go
little?
for it. Go for it.
Where Molly Walker essentially shoots herself for the greater good, and Noah Bennett has a kind of mini breakdown. I actually did like that moment, and it made sense given the past history with the characters. You know, given that they have worked together before, and that she was from or the character at least was from the original first season, and so forth, and they interacted then and throughout the series off and on. So it would understandably be upsetting to see someone that you've had kind of that connection with for a long time kill themselves. So I dug that kind of tying into the history of the characters. I dug the Siler reference a little bit, but it just opens up another question, like where are the interesting characters on the show that used to be there? Yeah, I'll agree with you. Some stuff got a little bit better, I guess. I will say I am more interested in what Zachary Levi's character is going to do, and hopefully his wife stays gone for the rest of the miniseries, because I hate that character. Like, it's just too, I don't know, it's not convincing enough that she's vengeful and in mourning. She just seems overly hateful. So I hope she stays gone, and I hope we can explore a little bit more of his dynamic with his abilities without that. And what were the Japanese people? Yeah, that's a thing that happened. Cosplay is happening because they got to reference current stuff like cosplay. That lady apparently wants worldwide genocide, so that seems like a very reasonable goal. And I love how her daughter instantly flip-flops. Kind of figured her daughter would be a little bit more non-trusting of her mother if this is their very tense relationship to begin with. But fine, whatever. It's Heroes. Oh, that blonde Eskimo made a tree live, so that's cool. And she's got a invisible Pakistani
Butterflies.
butterflies too, a whole cloud of them. And she's apparently, here's the whole deal. It was like, now we got our save the cheerleader, save the world thing. It was like, forget the past, save the future or something. And I will say, at least it looks like there's some idea of what's going to happen, that there is this worldwide Armageddon on the horizon thanks to this lady, that white Eskimo girl's going to save the day, ultimately, that she's the cheerleader for this miniseries, and that what they alluded to is that some of the featured heroes were going to help her out at some point. So there's some kind of direction taking place. Okay, cool, fine. Like I said, I was kind of zoning in and out.
Well, here we go. I got some positivity. So when I started the series, I hated the first episode because I didn't like any of the characters. Now I'm kind of intrigued by Carlos's storyline. Tommy's storyline is starting to pull me in a little bit, and Luke's storyline, who is Zachary Levi's character, I just looked it up, is starting to pull me in. But I agree with Mike. His wife is... See, they're doing a good job of making Tommy three-dimensional. They're doing a good job of making Luke three-dimensional. But his wife is just still... She's kind of flat. She's, a character that's just literally on a page that is just going through the motions. I don't care. Like, I get it. You lost your kid, and you want these characters to die. I guess I can get that. But like Philip was saying in the last episode, you have to give us more. Like, let us know why she is so hateful. Maybe she is batshit psychotic, but we haven't seen that really come out, except for that she just needs to kill these people. I mean, we got a little bit of emotion when she let him live and left him the car. I mean, I guess that's a nice thing to do for somebody, but so this show is starting to win me back, and when we were doing the Geek News podcast last year, my biggest thing was that they were bringing Hiro Nakamura back, but I do have to hand it to the people involved. They are making me curious to see him return because they are putting enough mystery into the character that's kind of got you like, okay, so where is he? Like, what is going on? So I am not afraid to admit it. I'm kind of curious as to see how Hiro plays into this because obviously he is a big part of this. And I'm with Mike. The story with Ren and Miko in Japan, it's not going anywhere. All you're giving me is the comedy relief that we got from Hiro and Ando during seasons 3 and 4, which nobody liked. So why do we have to put it on these two characters? I don't hate them as much as I did in the first episode, but that's not saying a lot because I really hated them in the first episode. So, but this show is, in my opinion, it's gradually getting better. The Molly Walker stuff, the only thing that I gotta say about it is I just hope they don't pull a Heroes. So when I was watching it, her death seemed sudden, and I hope that they don't undo it, if that makes sense. Like, Mike was saying that he liked the emotional tie behind it, and I guess I did too, but as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking back to how many times characters have died on Heroes, and they've brought them back. So the emotional death means nothing if they're just going to bring her back in 2 episodes and be like, oh, Hiro Nakamura changed the future. I just hope that that's not what happens. And if that's not what happens, then I'm with Mike. I thought the death was nice and a good kind of emotional forward for Noah Bennett, which we're not going to call him HRG on this podcast. He is Noah Bennett because HRG, like Mike said, and the first one is a dumb nickname for anybody. The show is getting better, though. I do have to say that for the first time, and it's getting better off a turd. The first episode was a turd, so it's gradually building on that, which for Heroes in the past, and we've talked about this, except for the first season, all the other seasons started off strong, and then they became turds. So at least this one is going in the right direction, and it's all going to make up for it at the end. Either the ending is going to be something awesome, or it's not, which makes the entire series irrelevant. Kind of like what's going on upstairs with everybody watching Once Upon a Time. They're just going to get to the same ending that they got in the previous 3 seasons, which is a shame because that show was good, too, at once. Philip, your thoughts?
So, it's already irrelevant, Jason. I told you about this last episode when we reviewed this. If they did not leave Molly Walker, because, like I said, that situation was stupid. I was like, why wouldn't she live with Noah Bennett? And it's like, for the greater good. I was on board with that. Then they go and kill her, and when she's hooked up to the machine, they have her power. Now, mind you, I guess it's not as good anymore now that she's dead. But I was like, I don't. That's why I checked out when that happened. I was like, okay, really? I was like, so then obviously that was all for exposition, which drove me nuts because it didn't make sense. But that's fine. I mean, I agree with you all that there was an emotional tie, but only because of the past history. Otherwise, it's a meaningless thing if you're watching it from the present because you're just like, wait a minute. So she killed herself at this point, but when she could have killed herself 2 episodes ago, she chose not to. Why? So that drove me nuts, Jason. I actually jumped off the train. I was with you. I was with you on the train up, and then that happened, and I was like, nope, done. And then I agree, the Asian, at first I was like, okay, cool, they're going to have something fun and interesting, a little comic relief, but they were going to make it chaotic. It wasn't chaotic. It was just them hanging out and I guess showing, I don't know who would be watching this. I guess the older generation. Hey, here's what a YouTuber's like. Because that's essentially what he was.
He's basically the Asian equivalent of PewDiePie.
Yep.
The guy,
Exactly.
yeah, does a lot of Let's Plays and so forth. So that's to let older people out there know what a Let's Play is, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, that's it. Okay, I'm not into that. And then is it Taylor, the kid who can teleport? I think that's his name.
Tommy.
Tommy, yeah.
Had a T. I was close. Um, so that one, it started off, I don't know. I need to see more of him. He's intriguing to me, at least. He's about the only thing I'm somewhat invested in, just because I don't get, like, I don't know. They're like, don't learn about the past, focus on the future. And I'm with Mike. It reminds me too much of Save the... I think if I hadn't seen Heroes, maybe I'd be less annoyed by that, because it just reminds me of Save the Cheerleader. Save the World.
Dude, they ripped a quote straight from the series. Have you ever felt like you were meant for so much more? Tommy says the exact line Peter Petrelli says in season 1.
I remember that.
I got to interject for just a second. The Molly Walker story, I get what you're saying, Philip, and I will probably be on the same train as you in 2 episodes because this is the Heroes writers. But I could, see if it was any other group of writers, I could see it going and that it's going to eventually pay off. We're going to find out why she didn't do it, and I hope that we find out why she didn't do it.
I hope so.
As it says under my name, Heroes Optimist, I'm being an optimist because I want to like the show. I got through seasons 2 and 3 because I liked the characters, and I'm starting to like the characters now. Like Mike really liked Carlos, that whole storyline in the first episode. I am starting to get on that train of liking kind of what's going on with the whole Underground Railroad. So I'm just hoping that this Molly Walker thing is going to pay off, and we're going to find out why. I'm just afraid we're not going to find out why, and what's going to happen is they're going to about to tell us why, and then Hero's going to come back in time and reset everything, and then something new is going to completely happen out of left field, like in season 3, where, like, I don't even know. That shit was crazy. Like, I don't even want to talk about season 3. Anyway, Philip, continue.
Yeah. So definitely, I've always liked Zachary Levi's character. I always felt he had some depth, and I'm right there with you, Mike. I was so glad when she walked away. I kind of wish she had attempted to shoot him, and he just lost control of her power, and just vaporized her, so she could never come back. Because I fear, again, the Heroes writers, that she's going to come back because they have to have a redemption story, or they have to have a vengeance story at the end. But that's.
And here's my whole thing about that too. It's like maybe I could get, like Jason was saying, if she's just cuckoo or whatever, maybe I could get invested into the character a little bit more. But ultimately, at the root of it, it's just not a good performance. I'm sure this actress has done great work elsewhere. It is just so cardboard and by the numbers, revenge person that I don't care. Like, yeah, you're right. He is more interesting now that he has this little new ability. Like, he seems a little bit more interesting. He seems a little bit more remorseful about his actions. And it's like, I'm more curious about that than seeing her get redeemed in any way. But you're right. She's probably going to come back and be, like, on the side of the angels again for some reason.
Yeah, I think Zach is doing such a good job with Luke that maybe that's also hindering her performance a little bit, that she's doing it beside him, because I think he's doing a great job of showing the conflict of emotions that he's going through. I think out of the whole series, he is shining probably the best out of anybody on the show, even Noah Bennett, who is also somewhat up there as far as shining goes. And that's really it. Those two guys are like the diamonds in the rough of this show, in my opinion. But, yeah, I agree with you guys. She is very flat, and I don't know if it's because she's acting beside him, because sometimes that can happen. We'll find out, because we all know she's coming back. So maybe if we see her in a scene by herself, our feelings will change. But yeah, I completely agree. Sorry.
I'm curious. What are your? Oh, sorry, Phil. Finish up your thoughts before I get to mine.
No, it's all good. I mean, other than, let's see, what was the only story? Oh, the Carlos one. That's intriguing. I will say that one at least is okay. I mean, I almost want to carve the show. And the Eskimo girl, I don't care. I need a reason to care, and I just don't care.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? She's in the middle of Antarctica or something.
And they're walking south.
We have no explanation yet. Like, this shit better pay off. Like, if we were watching this, it better pay off. That's all I'm saying. I don't care if I have to wait till episode 13, as long as it pays off. It better pay off. They better not do this shit where they make us wait till next season, and then it still doesn't pay off, and we have to keep going. No, please just let it pay off.
I gotta say, there was kind of a really funny self-aware moment between her and that other lady walking around. Because here's the one thing I've noticed about the show, not just from the miniseries, but throughout after season 1, like the voiceovers and things like that, the pretentious dialogue explaining like, oh, this is just the next evolutionary chain in our existence. What makes us human? They do that whole lot of like philosophical bullshit that doesn't really mean anything. But the Pakistani lady started talking like that at one point. It's about like something about like this. No, we don't call it that. We call it souls. And like you could see the girl like roll her eyes a little bit, like, oh, of course you do. Like just like yeah, people on this show are so full of themselves with that shit. It's hilarious. But I don't know. Yeah, I like the Carlos thing too. And honestly, what you were saying about that stuff, Philip, with the Underground Railroad and him just being a vigilante, it makes me think about like why couldn't these just be separate stories just running along within the same show? Why is it all going to have to tie into one big mega event? It's like I'd be more interested if they just followed enhanced people on their own individual paths throughout the show.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but I think it's because the first season really, I think what So Heroes was built upon, right, was leading up to this huge culmination event. And they didn't think about redoing or changing that formula. Because I agree with you. I think it would have been more interesting to give certain people more time and then go to, like, have episodes where you're focused on this group and then next episode you can go to a different person. But, I mean, it is what it is at this point. I don't know. I mean, there is possibility that it'll get better, but, I mean, I'm not completely jumping off, but it's like I don't expect it to get better. That's where I'm at.
And again, Tommy's storyline was another one that pulled me in this episode, and Philip, I think, liked his storyline in the second episode, and I know Mike wasn't a big fan of the first one, but I think we're starting to get some dimensions to some of these characters, which is nice. Like Tommy went above and beyond to, be there for his mom. I don't, again, with the whole I hope it pays off thing is like, why is this kid so special? Like, guys, the reason season 1 was so good was because, who knows? I watched season 1 as a clump, so I might have had some of these issues hoping it was going to pay off later, but 1 out of 4 is not good odds. So you've had one season that most of your threads paid off at the end, and then you have 3 seasons where nothing paid off at the end. So I hope that we're getting, the 25% and not the 75% that we are known to have. And I mean, Tim cringe, and I love Kiefer Sutherland, but his other series, Touch, was more of the latter half of Heroes. So I don't know. Anybody have anything to add, Philip?
I mean, there's definitely, hopefully we get some value, and I think we will. I mean, hopefully they do something interesting with Noah Bennett's character, and Carlos kind of goes somewhere, and they can kind of give us something there to give us a little bit more depth, because I really like Zachary Levi's character, or Luke, but he needs to be somewhere else with someone else, but not just by himself. I mean, because after some point, it's just going to become very melodramatic.
I agree. It's like, at least do something interesting. I'm not really, like you were saying, Philip, whatever's going on with Eskimo Girl and all that other stuff, I'm not really interested in what the end game of this is going to be. At this point, give me something kind of cool to kind of latch onto for a little bit, because I can predict how this is going to end. They're going to gather together to stop something global, some global holocaust from happening, and everyone learns a lesson about teamwork and being special or something, because that's what Heroes did every season after season 1 almost, at some point or other. And I think that is the biggest trouble with genre TV and with this show in particular, is that, you're right, they didn't stray far from the formula, so every time the world was in peril every season, I stopped caring less and less. Honestly, the point where it got interesting again for me was the last episode of the original series, because I'm like, oh, that's something different. She just outed all these people to the world. And, we hadn't really seen anything like that happen yet. Like, a big disaster would happen, and then everything would be swept under the rug and reset for next season. And so that's actually when it was kind of promising. And then as soon as that happened, oh, guess what? The show's not on anymore. So now they're picking up with it, and now that's new status quo. But guess what? We're back to something to do with something out in space. Instead of an eclipse, it's the aurora borealis. So it's going to be bad. So whatever. I mean, just give me something interesting. Like I said, do something interesting with the characters. Do something interesting with the old characters that are supposed to be coming back. We got Suresh supposed to be coming back. Hero's coming back. Surprise me. Turn Hero into a villain. That would be kind of cool. I would actually be on board with that, and it'd make his death all the more satisfying. Because I don't like Hero. I mean, not for the sake of shock, but do something interesting with somebody. But to the point that it's not just feeling like a desperate ploy for maybe long-time viewers to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you went there. Like, make it seem natural. But yeah.
Well, I agree with both of you. So that's the show. Check below, click the link, check out Mike's stuff. It's youtube.com/MikeMcGTV. Like I said, the link is in the description. Thank you for all the support on iTunes. Our Heroes podcast is doing extremely well. So please keep it up and rate and review, like down below, comment, let us know what you thought, and have a great night.